welcome to another video. Now in this video we are taking the car back to the dyno again. If you guys watch all the videos, you guys will know about 2 videos ago we had the car on a dyno. It made decent power, but it didn't make the amount of power that I wanted. My target was 200 to 220 horsepower. We didn't quite make it, but we got close. However, we ran into a head gasket issue and then we couldn't really turn up the boost anymore. But overall still we ended up making about 50% more power than what we had when we went there. Now since then I've actually made a few changes, and that's why I want to put it on the dyno again. The thing is, the car in theory should make less power because we dropped the compression ratio, and the effect of that should be that the car makes less power. However, since I made a few changes, the car actually feels better and faster. So what we did is we put the thicker head gasket in there. That made the compression ratio lower. And now we don't have the head gasket issues anymore. Car's running perfect. Before we even had the multi-layer steel gaskets, it kept on blowing the gaskets. And we blew about 3 head gaskets before I swapped out to this perforated steel or paper gasket as they refer to it. Now something else that I changed was the cam timing. Now Honda decided to give these engines the most complicated cam timing ever by giving them multiple marks. So there's a mark on the side here, there's another one on that side, and then down there is another mark. I actually got a manual just to figure out which marks I need to use, and I'll show you guys what I found there. Now on this online manual you have to tell it what car you are using, and I'm going to say, let's say 94, just because I know that we're using the Z6s in 94, and then we can go to Honda and Civic. I'm going to go with this SOC VTEC model. Let's do the SOC VTEC MFI. Then we go to maintenance, timing, components, alignment marks, locations, and here it has pictures, and on the side it shows you a whole bunch of images and instructions. Now if you look at the second picture, you can see there's a whole bunch of different ways to line up the marks. The older ones, the B7, B8, they want to be lined up with the cast of the head. According to this one, the Z6 wants to be lined up with this arrow over here. However, look at the plastic cover and look at this plastic cover. Now I know that I do have this plastic cover, and I can also see that it does not want to be lined up with the deck anymore, as this one does. So according to this, I can't use this mark at the bottom. I have to use these 2 marks on the side. So that's how I figured that out, and that I cannot use this one at the bottom, otherwise, as we have seen, it will be incorrect. Now you can buy this manual online, and I did ask these guys if they will give me a coupon code, and they did. So if you check the link in the description, you will see that there is a link and a coupon code for a discount on this software. And it does do more than that. You can basically find anything you want on this software. Now that's all set. I also got a timing light, and then I set the ignition timing back to where it was, because the Dseries runs off the cam. Once you mess with that, you have to set the ignition timing again. We did that. Now for the new people, this is just a stock 1.5 single cam. It's a 1.5 block with a D16 Z6 head, so it is a VTEC head and a D16 intake, but everything inside internally is stock apart from Amazon head studs. So while we were struggling with the head gaskets, we tried everything, and we have the Amazon head studs in there. They are better, they are an improvement, because we could push it much harder before we ran into the head gasket issues again. But currently with a thick head gasket and those head studs in there, we're not having head gasket issues. So that issue is solved. But according to me, the car should make less power because we dropped the compression ratio. However, the car feels a lot better. It feels faster. So maybe the car wasn't making that power after the dyno because the head gasket was blown. So to be honest, I'm not really sure what the car will make now, but I will say it does feel better. So that's why I want to put it on the dyno again, so we can actually see what the car really makes, and then we'll be able to know how much we will be able to turn it up until we make the amount of power that we want. So I'm just going to check over everything, and then I'll see you guys at the dyno. Okay, so we are back from the dyno, and at the dyno now we made 182 horsepower, where previously when we had it tuned it made 186 horsepower. So we are down 4 horsepower, which is, you know, I expected to be down a bit considering we put a very thick head gasket in there to drop the compression ratio. Dropping the compression ratio always takes away a bit of power. Now we did advance the cam by 2 degrees. That may have added a bit of power again, resulting in only losing 4 horsepower. Now, I mean, you're not really even going to notice 4 horsepower, so to me that's not a major problem. However, I do want to make 200, so the aim for this is anything over 200, and currently it is tuned to be able to handle, let's say, more boost. It is currently at 10 psi, and I was hoping 10 psi would do 200 for us, but apparently it doesn't want to do it. So we can just go over here and, you know, crank up the boost controller ourselves and, you know, turn up the boost until it makes the power we want. I did look at the map and the fuel map, and it doesn't look like it will blow itself up as soon as we boost a bit more. We can also take it back to the dyno. I don't really want to do that because it's quite expensive to take it back, and I mean all they're going to do is turn it up and clean up the fuel map maybe. We do have a wideband, so we can clean up the fuel map ourselves. I don't think they'll change anything on the ignition map. The more boost you put in it, the less the ignition timing it's going to give you. So based on that, I think I'm just going to probably turn up the boost myself, see if we can get it to 200. Other than that, everything is holding up great. The car's running great. We're not having head gasket issues anymore. That cheap head gasket hack thing worked. Now we may have to change out the transmission on this car because first and second gear is making some weird grinding noises and I don't want it to explode on me. And of course these transmissions are very cheap and you can get them anyway. So we're going to put a new one in there. I actually have a new one. I just have to clean it up and put it in. We do also have a brace on the wastegate over there. So there's a bracing between the block and the wastegate. That's just to prevent it from flexing because I had to cut up the bracket initially to get the turbo clocked straight down. But anyway guys, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you all in the next one.